DeWitt. We're going to talk a little bit about short, sweet art projects. On my website, I have freeonlineartclasses.com. I have a whole section of these short art projects that are lots of fun and take 20 minutes to an hour to at the most an hour and a half. Great for kids, great for anybody who just wants to experiment with creating something a certain way with a certain material. And there's a big variety of them on my website. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the projects that I have done recently with a class. And we had a lot of fun. And it's working with oil pastels and working on a sketchbook page like this, which I've done, and masked this off with blue masking tape, because I find that many times if the project turns out well, you have it nicely taped off so that you have a hard edge, and it would make it nice for matting and framing if you wanted to do that. I also have a lot of oil pastels. You just really don't need any more than a set of 12 oil pastels to do this exercise. So you need a sketchbook, you need some oil pastels, not crayons. They just really don't work the same way. Get yourself a nice set of oil pastels. Okay, basically when we had the class, we chose just one object, a very, very simple shape to work with, and in this case I have a nice vase that I'm going to use to demonstrate. So I have my paper set up on an easel, and I have my pastels here. I have quite a few. I've collected quite a few over the years. Like I say, you really only need 12. You don't need all these, unless you really love them like I do, and then over the years you may want to collect that. So the nice thing about this short, sweet project is that it teaches you a little about light and shadow in a very, very basic, fun way. If you haven't done a lot of drawing, you don't have a lot of drawing skills, this is still a fun way of working. And I always say, like, try to be as accurate as you can, but don't worry about it too much. We're just working very basically and quickly. Main thing is to get the shape down as well as you could, and then we're going to pretty much kind of manufacture the light and shadow to make it dramatic, and then we can show volume this way. So I'm going to just start out with a basic shape like this. Try to get it down as best you can. There it is, right there. And then I have a tabletop in the back. It's not straight across, it's at a diagonal. And then there's a kind of a bit of drapery right there, and that's going to be the main composition. So I started out with a kind of a sage green. I think that's fairly close to that the color of the vase, but it really doesn't matter all that much because we're going to be working with a lot of different colors. So I'm just going to sketch the colors in very, very basically, starting with the vase. And then I'm going to choose another color. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly the same color as the background. In this case, this is sort of a flesh tone. The background here is sort of a beige, so I'm not using quite the same color, but that's okay. It's okay to do that. You choose whatever color you want. Okay, there's the background. I think for the tabletop, I might choose a kind of a brown. Again, the tabletop is sort of an amber color. I'm just going to do it in a light brown because that's what I want to do. It's good to get the colors down first, even in this very basic way, because if you don't and you have white spaces in your composition, it's going to throw everything off. So you really want to feel like you control this whole environment. And the only way you can do that is to deal with the whole thing. So pretty much now I have the 3 colors down, and that's my start. Just move the angle of the camera over a little bit so you can see how I'm working a little bit better now that I've described the situation. Now I'm just going to proceed and build up the colors. So this is something that's a lot of fun to do with oil pastels. You can overlay the colors until you get a very, very rich light and shadow just by putting one color over the other. Start out adding yellow like this. This can work with any color. In this case, I'm just choosing these right off the top of my head. And I'm thinking that I would like, let's see, maybe a kind of a green here for the base. And I think here's where the light and shadow comes in, and this is what we did in the class. I said choose one side to have the light on it and one side to have the shadow on it, just very simply. You're going to have to kind of look away from your subject matter because that vase is all full of different kinds of shadows and you could get really confused. So we're going to manufacture this kind of situation of having the shadow on this side. And this is a nice exercise to do a study like this because it teaches you how light and shadow works a little bit, especially if you haven't ever drawn before or have done very little drawing. You can see already that just by using a darker color here and a lighter color here, that you have an indication of light and shadow. It's pretty easy. I think I'm going to take a blue down here for the shadow. If the light's coming from this angle, then a shadow is going to be over here, isn't it? Might just add a little blue right in there on the vase. Why not? And then I think I'm going to emphasize the light over here by adding a little yellow to this light green. So it looks more like it's illuminated. The background I think I'm going to keep light for now. I'd like to add another color down here. And I think I'm going to add purple. Now this doesn't exist in what I see out here, but that's okay. I'm the artist. I could change it around any way I want to, and so can you. The nice thing about using purple is that it actually makes the background a little bit darker and makes the light here, that light green, lighter. So what we're learning is that by putting a dark color next to a light color, the light color will actually appear lighter because of the contrast between the two colors. Now remember, we're doing a short, sweet art project, so we can't take a whole lot of time. We have to work fairly quickly. The advantage to working quickly also is you don't get much of a chance to reason things out. You can't scold yourself for doing anything wrong You can't make judgments saying, oh, I should do this, I should do that, maybe I should do that. You just really have to work. You just have to work fast, not think too much about it, and enjoy the color. I'm going to put a little of that pink into the light part. You can see how nicely these colors overlay. So one color can really be made up of a lot of different colors. May make that a little darker over there. Bring in some dark gray for the drapery. There's other videos that I have that will show you how to develop a drawing accurately and how to finish it with a lot of detail. In this particular case, however, because we're just quickly sketching, that's not our purpose here. It's just to get acquainted with oil pastels, show you how the colors can overlap, experiment with that, and how to make light and dark, and give the illusion of shadow. And you can see here just in this little study, very, very simple study, how effective the light and shadow is. I'm going to put a little blue in here to make it even darker. Maybe add a little brown. Feel free to just put any color down. You can't lose on this, actually. And it's a good way to find out how the colors blend. Now I'm hurrying because I want to finish this. This is a brief study. It can't take too long. Finish up the edges here a little bit. Bring in just a little bit of blue over here. And I think I'm going to emphasize the blue here a little bit too, to make the shading a little more dramatic. And I would say for this little, brief little short, sweet pastel study, I'm just about done. Okay, I've taken the masking tape off, so you can see how now this, even for a rough little colorful sketch that this is, if I wanted to matte and frame it, I'd have a nice little finish on it, and I just wanted you to see, give you a little more detail of how the colors are integrated and how they produce the effect of light and dark in a quick little study.